Happy New Year's! Welcome! My name is Jessie Jagpal. Welcome to my page. Like the title entails, we're gonna jump right into it. We're gonna pop a balloon first, and then we have a horror story for you, or I have a horror story for you. I hope you guys had a wonderful New Year's night / evening or whatever last night. It didn't get too crazy. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so today I try to be creative in each one of my videos when I pop these balloons. Here's this yellow one. Today I'm going to use a screwdriver. It's not the most creative idea out there, but yes, I figured it's something, and I think we can come out with many ideas moving forward, but here's a screwdriver I'm going to be using. So here's a smiling balloon. I feel terrible doing this to this poor guy. Let's see. I don't want to put it up in this area. Maybe, oh no, let's not do that. Let's not do that. Okay, ready? Just random balloon pop. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ah! Woo! Happy New Year 2019. Okay. So, it's gonna be a great year. It was a great year. I hope you guys are all having a fabulous morning. It is currently, I believe, I don't have a time on me. It is 8:57 a.m., almost 9 o'clock, here on the West Coast. So yeah, all right. So with my story, I have some delicious breakfast. Again, I try to do unusual things in the morning, not because I'm making a video, that's because that's what I do. No joke. I have some jalapeno poppers. Some people love them, some people hate them, you know, just depends. I like cream cheese, I like that it's fried, and the jalapeno I'm just whatever about, but if you add a dip like the one I have here, oops, Thousand Island, that will literally make anything really good. So, and I really like cream cheese and the fact that it's stuffed and fried. Okay, so I'll be having that with my coffee, so my traditional coffee. That is so good. All right, guys. Wow, 2019 already. So, yeah, like, I feel like it was just not too long ago when, like, you know, we were celebrating. I was just graduating from high school and etc., but it hasn't been that long, but still, I feel like it's flying. Like, the 2000s have been flying. Like, I used to remember when it was like 1996 and 1997, and then in my head I used to think, like, when I started learning the idea of how dates work and the years work, and I imagined, like, oh my god, I'm like, how far away and how long ago the early 1900s were. Now that we're in the early 2000s, like, I just try and sometimes think to myself, like, how kids and children are going to be in the future when they're like, oh my god, the early 2000s, this weird lady with this weird mask made this video and tried to make these horror movies, and they're probably justifying it with science while I'm making it into this, you know, ghostly encounter kind of thing, and they're laughing, and it's more of a comedy at that point. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the story. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a man by, again, I'm so bad with saying names, Arnie Shayseen Johnson. He was a man of Connecticut, here in the States, in America, in the United States of America. Basically, to give you an overview before I jump into, like, the actual possession demons and etc. He was charged with murder when he was a man, as a man, and when he went to court, his defense was that he was possessed by demons. So this is, I'm not sure if there's any other cases out there that use that as a justification as their defense, but his lawyer literally used that to his defense, that he has been experiencing unusual things, and his behavior's been very off since he was a child, and he is possessed. The court didn't, the possession and demons wasn't an appropriate justification for what he did. He stabbed another gentleman multiple times, which led to his death. But what did happen is he had to serve time. He was initially scheduled to serve anywhere from, I believe, 10 to 20 years, which isn't a lot for murder. I'm really surprised. But I have a feeling that they probably took resources, and the family provided the court with resources that showed that his behavior was odd and unusual, and a lot of people kind of went to provide proof of his behavior. So I'm sure the priest went, family and friends went, his sister went, everyone went to really say, they're not lying, or the lawyer isn't lying with her claims. And so that's when they made that decision. Even though, there is something strange going on with this gentleman, we still have to sentence him. But it turns out he only had to serve 5 years in jail. Okay, now to kind of backtrack with his early life and some of the things that he experienced as a child. So a lot of times, basically what happened was in the early 1980s, most people, just to kind of start off, Connecticut is a fairly good area, and in the 1980s, no crime or homicide, crime I'm sure, but no form of homicide or serious crime to that extent had been committed for over 193 years. After 193 years, this was the first murder that went onto the records, and which kind of brought down the town's reputation. Okay. Let me go ahead and jump into some of the things he was experiencing. So it all started in 1980. This is, sorry guys, my nose is runny. Oh. Okay, so it started in 1980 when David Glatzel was only 11 years old. He would wake up at night screaming, and complaining about a man with big black eyes, a really thin face, and he had animal features and jagged teeth, pointed ears, horns, and hoofs. This person, or this beast man as he claimed or called him, warned David to beware. It doesn't state of what, but it just constantly came to his mind and told him, be careful, or, something's gonna happen. So just to give a background on David himself, he wasn't the type of kid like me that was into horror movies or horror stories or things like that. He never watched any of that. He kept away from it. He didn't like it. So it was very strange. He had the nightmares were very vivid, and over time his whole behavior and his personality in a sense changed. At one point he was a very happy kid, full of energy, well behaved. He carried this amazing life. But all of a sudden he became very quiet and nervous. So he had an older sister that was living with her fiance of the time, and she had asked him if she could go in and kind of spend some time with his younger brother due to what he was experiencing and things he was going through. So after that point, things did not get any better. His nightmares just got a lot worse. Imagine being a kid and experiencing all this. The beast man would come regularly, and it got so bad. He wouldn't just say beware. It was more of telling the boy that I'm gonna take your soul, or you're mine, or this is over. Oh my gosh, that would be so horrifying. So those are some of the things that he started hearing from this whatever this demon or figure was. Over time, it was really strange, but David also would wake up in the morning and would have scratches, bruises on his body, and it was very clear that it happened while he was asleep. Okay, and I'm sure, like, if he's pinching himself in his sleep or anything like that, the family would have observed that over time. If they were noticing things, I assume, like, if you're seeing your child is being bruised, you would watch over them, and they didn't see anything. Over time, things just got even worse. David started to see the beast man while he was still awake, claiming that the monster would appear as an old man with a white beard, dressed in a flannel shirt and jeans. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, guys, I gotta have some of it. Huh. Really good. So he had a white beard. He was an older man, dressed in a flannel shirt and jeans. So the family didn't know what to do at this point. So they turned to their church and their priest, and they said, listen, we're experiencing some things. We don't know what to do. Our son is in trouble. So the priest came to the home just to kind of give his blessings and to bless the home. And they state that this just made the beast even more mad. So over and over we hear from stories that for some reason having a priest or having religious sentiments or any of that sort around really makes these beasts upset. And then that's really interesting to me, the fact that it upsets them. I wonder if it's because they are able to tell that they're trying to get rid of them, or if there's another reason to that. I don't know. Anyway, so let's keep going. So it made him mad. So this just increased David's dreams and his daytime visions. So he was no longer just dreaming about this demon, he was also seeing him during the day. Okay? David began to hiss at his family and speak in multiple voices. He started to quote Paradise Lost, a book that is not typical of any 11-year-old to read. During the night, someone would have to stay up and watch David, who would wake up every 30 minutes, sometimes having seizures. So he was in a pretty bad condition. So the priest wasn't sure what to do, so he reached out to another couple, Ed and Lorraine. So they took a short trip to visit the family, and when the Warrens walked in and they were having this conversation with the boy, they noticed a black and misty, some type of misty cloud formed next to the boy, which told them that they were, for some reason, dealing with something of a negative nature. So it wasn't a nice spirit or being. It was negative, meaning he definitely wanted to harm and there was some danger in it. I'm assuming that black and gray and darker shadows are negative or bad. Okay. He said that he had the feeling of being hit. So once he was being analyzed by the Warrens, the child started complaining that there were hands, invisible hands, trying to choke him while he was sitting there and explaining and trying to come up, justify what was going on with him. Something was choking him. So the Warrens were they believed that he was possessed at this point, and they knew that something was going on with this kiddo, just from their own experience and what they saw. They had 3 exorcisms for this child, which were done by 4 priests to free David of what they assumed was 43 demons that were controlling him. Okay, 43. Wow. I wonder how they come to that number. So while they were doing the exorcism, the boy seemed pretty normal, stable. He felt safe to the extent where he started taunting the demons within him. So for some reason, he felt enough in control where he just wanted them out of him. So he started taunting them, saying, you know, they have no right to be in my body. They have to come out. You know, they don't have control over me. There's nothing they can do. So things seemed normal after that point. The priest came in, they did, you know, they went through the process of doing the exorcism, and they left. The police was called to ensure the kiddo's safety, and so they stayed during that time period just to watch him and to make sure that he wasn't engaging in any abnormal activity or behaviors to hurt himself or others around him. So as of November 1980, things started to seem okay. The family said, you know, okay, maybe it was just a psychiatric issue and there's seizures going on. So they took him to a psychiatrist and their family physician regularly. The doctors claimed the kid was normal, he was healthy, he was doing great. He had a slight learning disability, and though he still had trouble sleeping, everything was fine. He was a happy-going kid, according to them. He was great. But over this time period, Arnie had changed. His personality, who he was as a person, this experience had changed him. In all his 19 years, Arnie had never gotten into trouble. So he was a good kid, right? He was a proverbial good guy. When money was tight, he dropped out of high school to get a full-time job to help out his mom. He bought his mom a car, you know, not the best car, but what he could afford, so she wouldn't have to walk to and from work. He was well-liked, very hardworking, and, you know, overall very caring. It seems like he was a very caring gentleman, a pure good gentleman that was trying to do good in life, right? Even with all these struggles. So according to Debbie, his sister, Arnie would go into trances where he would growl at nothing and claim to see the beast man. After he came back from this region, he wouldn't remember any of it. He slowly started getting into trouble with the police again. Okay, so everything was good until he was 19. After that period, he started getting into trouble by the law again. Okay. Jalapeno. Okay. Okay, so this is where the murder happens. This is where he ends up murdering this other individual, okay? In February 16, 1981, Arnie called out of work, choosing instead to spend it with Debbie and his... Who is Debbie? I thought Debbie was his sister. Okay, so he chooses to spend it with his family, friends, and of course, just close people. Sister at their job at a kennel. Debbie's cousin Mary was also spending the day at the kennel. It was President's Day and school was closed. As the gang goofed about at the kennel, playing with what I can only imagine was an endless parade of cute puppies, Alan Bono showed up and took them all out to lunch at a local bar. A perfect place to bring a 9-year-old. I'm assuming at that time. I don't think they're being funny. Not that I know of. Correct me if I'm wrong. Leave it in the comments. Okay, depending on which reports you read, either both Arnie and Alan were drinking a serious amount of booze for lunch, or just Alan was. So we don't know if Arnie and both Alan were drinking. Either way, when everything returned to the kennel, there was an uneasiness. An argument between the two broke out. So Alan is the, you have to remember, Alan is the landlord. He's the one owns the property that they're living in. So they got into an argument. So it got worse and worse to the point where, you know, Arnie started to hiss at him. So he was going, sss, and I'm sure it looked a lot worse. Arnie's sister got worried because she knew that something bad was going to happen at this point. Like, it might cause something really bad. She tried to separate everyone from Arnie, her brother, and put him in a separate room. But it was too late. Like, Arnie grabbed like a knife and he stabbed Alan in the stomach. Alan Bono in the stomach, pulling the knife up, so almost like stabbing him and then taking it up to his heart. So never actually pulling it back out at that point. So stabbing him, bringing it up to his heart, and then pulling out, and then creating multiple incisions. So he did it over and over and over again. And when, again, after this incident, he was obviously arrested, taken in, and etc. And they try to justify the murder with the fact that he was possessed, he was seeing things. I think there is a justification for what he did medically and psychologically. So things like, you know, not being stable, mental health, his mental health not being stable, his seizures coming about, which was probably affecting his mental health as well. So there's a lot of things that could justify, I think, what he was experiencing, and like the hallucinations, seeing things and experiencing things. Yeah. But again, it's strange that over and over again you see that all these people don't, every time you hear a story of being possessed or demons or, you know, of that sort, they don't like priests, they don't like religious objects, they don't like anything like that coming into the environment. It either makes things a lot worse or it calms things down or whatever, you know. How do you justify that? So yeah. Alright guys, yeah, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed my horror story. I know it was a long one today, so just kind of fast forward through things and watch it if it works better. Mwah. Have a great day.